Testing, testing, testing. Okay, this is for my short video called Leaving Colombia. What do you like about Colombia? This was a question often asked me by my students or friends I came to know. Maybe the family of my girlfriend, the barber, or the couple who own the tienda on the corner. I never knew how to respond on the spot, and I will be honest, there are things that I love and things that I don't love about Colombia. But Colombian people are friendly. I think most people have better stories than I do. I have a tendency to appear unhappy. I have a tendency to dwell in my own annoyance. I have a tendency to gloss over the good times, however, they are there. It is common for a Colombian person to say hello to anyone, at any time, in any place. A person walks onto a bus, or into a restaurant, into a notary, or into my class, sometimes late, to my disdain, and they will say hello, and be received by a chorus of pleasant acknowledgments. The hospitality is bar none, reminiscent of my heritage Canadiana. My experience was always to be offered food or drink without an ulterior motive and without hesitation. The host of a street party might order beers by the crate and continue to hand them out by the fistful. I was the difficult vegetarian the locals didn't wince to accommodate, asking me if eggs were okay to eat. I owe many thanks to Yuli and her family for all the good food and good times. Now, this is somewhat of a double-edged sword, a mix between the good and the bad, but if there was a time I got ripped off or gringo priced, almost always by someone I didn't know, it was only by a little bit. A respectful overcharge, if I may. Maybe it sounds weird, but on often occasion when I would be overcharged, it would not be $20 or $30, but $2 or $3 at most. A drop in the bucket for a foreigner, unless you are like me when I started working there and earning a Colombian wage. How about the weather? In the city I lived in, Ibagué, the weather was always friendly. It was such a pleasant feeling to just throw on shorts and a t-shirt every day and walk outside and not have to heat the apartment. Colombian people don't like spicy food. Not much to say here. The average Colombian does not like spicy food. They like rich, cheesy, or sweet food, but spicy, not so much. Any bumpkin such as myself who might happen upon Colombia will probably think that Colombian food is similar to Mexican food. It is not. For better or worse, a part of me was always missing something spicy, but Colombian food should not be downplayed. It is delicious, scrumptious, strange, but welcomed to my taste buds. From the tolomense tamal to avena, arepas to empanadas, dozens and dozens of varieties of juices, and even their obscure combinations of ice cream. Sin queso. And the fruit. Oh my God, the fruit. Every week I would learn of a new fruit. So many delicious fruits. Colombia is dangerous. First, Colombia does have some dangerous parts. Some parts are more dangerous than others, but for a city like Ibagué, I felt safe for most of the time. The real underlying issue, I believe, is the class disparity and the rampant corruption that seems to permeate all facets of life. And it really is unfortunate, because I believe Colombians deserve better than that, because the vast majority is better than that, but this corruption is self-propagating. Any level of working class has been nothing but kind to me, but I have frequently felt uneasy with the beggars. Well, not the sober ones. Another thing to be said is Colombia, a country with not too much extra to give, has been trying very hard to help Venezuela in its current economic crisis. The Venezuelans are one of the people you will see in the street that you shouldn't hesitate to support. Colombians love to party. I thought I could party. I was wrong. Colombians love to party and they are good at it. They love to sing, they love to dance, and they love to drink aguardiente and stay up until 6 o'clock in the morning. Did I mention that they love to sing? It is not uncommon to sit in a bar or a tienda and hear the popular ranchera music being belted out by the punch-drunk patrons, similar to a person's idea of what an Irish pub might be like, but crazier and in Spanish. I would be inclined to join in, but I can't sing Spanish. It is common practice in Colombia to have a street party, to take your party to the front door of your house, usually with chairs that people use on the not-so-busy street. They will set up a simple steel barbecue and cook and drink beer and chat and play games and play music loudly, with neighbors and friends coming over to share in the festivities. Now, although Colombians work a lot, too much in my opinion, with a 6-day week being the standard, they do have lots of holidays. And if there is a time to visit Colombia to see some culture, you'll want to travel there in late June and early July. Or you can try and make it to Pasto in January to see the Carnival of Blacks and Whites. And you know what? After all this, I was really hoping to have a graceful goodbye, a slow, pensive adios with this beautiful country, with its wonderful people. But that was not the case. Instead, my hand was rushed by the oncoming of international pandemic. I was humming and hawing when my Prime Minister declared that all Canadians abroad should come home. I had an apartment and my stuff not yet packed, contemplating how to spend my free time, scoffing and making memes of the coronavirus when my Prime Minister said I should come home. I was planning my next trip for Semana Santa. I was thinking about my next video when I had to start deciding if I should try and get home. I was torn. I could see the walls closing in. I had my ear to the ground though. I was listening to stories from China and Italy, Spain and Iran. I designed lesson plans around the topic of COVID-19. The week I decided to leave, they were just starting to implement limits on the amount of people that could be in an area, and the week prior, all the concerts were getting canceled. The institute I had been working at was restricting class time and starting online segments. I quickly decided to change my flight to the closest weekend with the help of the people I could confide in. The issue at that point then wasn't whether I should or shouldn't go back home, because I knew I should. The issue had become whether it was worth the gamble of trying to travel to Bogota and try and make the flight and hope desperately it doesn't get canceled, and also try not to get stuck in Bogota for the extent of the quarantine, and at the time of my trip is extending from a 4-day quarantine to 23 days. This was the risk, this was the bet. I could have stayed in Ibagué with friends and family with an opportunity to find work, but I took the leap and it paid off. But I am lucky. There are lots of not only Canadians but citizens from all over the world who are stuck in many different countries right now. It was a strange process as I moved across the departments. I asked the local businesses for masks and hand sanitizer as I returned from one of my final beer trips in Colombia, and I was fortunate enough to find some. The next step was then to start isolating myself as much as possible to make sure that A, I would not get COVID-19, and B, I would not have any symptoms to show, so that I could make sure to get back to my country without getting turned down at the American or Canadian borders. But to my surprise, later when I actually was landing at customs, there really wasn't much of a process. They brushed me through with less hassle than the usual bout. I remember packing up all my belongings in a day and then moving them back to my ex's house the next morning and saying goodbye and getting a bus ticket with ease and climbing on the bus all within an hour. I was almost crying, not knowing the certainty of my near future, mixed with the untimely goodbye. Watching the news update hourly and feeling the walls pushing into the size of that of a prison cell. I was relieved at every completed step, and I had 4. Phase 1 was to get to Bogota. Phase 2 was to get to the United States. Phase 3 was to get to Canada. And Phase 4 was to get back to my parents' place on Vancouver Island. Each phase presenting me with bigger waves of relief that ended up making me feel happier than I felt I should have been. In Colombia, I was looking around at other people suspiciously, not wanting to get sick. In the United States and Canada, I felt guilty, like I could be carrying it, like I could be contributing to this disaster, like I indirectly infected hundreds of people. I am getting carried away. The point is, God damn it, Colombia, I love you. The people I came to know, I love you too. I'm a grumpy person and you grew on me. You coerced me into a marriage of happiness, bitterness, beauty, nature, food, never being on time, a hello, a kiss on the cheek, and everything in between. I'm not going to stroke your ego. You have problems, but I even learned to relish in those too. I would catch myself wishing I had found you when I was younger and wilder and freer than I am now. You are sometimes like the jungles and forests I had the pleasure of knowing, difficult to tame but organic, emotional and with a desire to grow towards the sun out of necessity. Always competing for some of those nutrients with the help of your genius, passed down history through the generations of tribulations. A Colombian laughs in the face of adversity, takes the hit on the cheek and lets their family and friends lift them back up. I wish you all the best with this upcoming test of will and might, and I hope you can treat all Colombians with the empathy and compassion that they deserve. Through teamwork, responsibility, and a drive for a brighter future, I hope we can all make it to the other side as better humans. Te amo, Colombia.